Check 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate?
Yes!
Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need, get over the fear, and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello, everybody. Michael Quarles with Podcast 25. Today, we're going to continue the series of answering 5 questions sent in by real estate investors. Now, to send in your question, remember, send them to support@bsffacademy.com, and we will answer your real estate question. Here's question number 1. As a real estate investor, how do you know who to market to? That's just friggin' an awesome questions. One of the biggest questions that can be answered as well. I think it's important to understand your market. So I like doing a market algorithm. So I'm going to take a market, and in that market, I'm going to look at all of the zip codes within an hour drive from my office or my house, whatever it is. So I'm going to list all those zip codes. I'm going to find out how many cash investor buyers there are, how many houses per zip code that are single family there are, how many pre-foreclosures there are, how many REOs there are, how many houses have 30% equity and are under median, what the median is, and then I want to know the average days on market, and I want to know how many houses have 30% equity under median, but at 2/3 and the bottom third. So I'm going to compile all that data. I'm going to run an algorithm on it, and it's going to give me back the exact zip codes and the exact areas that I should be spending my marketing dollars on. So I'm not going to leave it up to what I think. I'm going to leave it up to what the mathematical formulas are telling us. And we run a double algorithm, and when we overlay the 2 algorithms, it absolutely tells me and defines the geographical area. Now, from that point, then we're going to determine who we're going to market in those areas. So we have, as an example, let's talk about the first 5 groups. And they encompass pretty much everybody, but let's look at everybody that we can market to and make money from. So we have absentee owners who live out of state. So they have a house in California, they live in Texas. We have absentee owners who live out of city, but in the same state. So they have a house in Bakersfield, California. They live in Sacramento, California. Then we have absentees who live in Bakersfield, California, and they have a house in Bakersfield, California. Then we have people with 30% equity who are 65 years and older and have lived in their home for 15 years or longer. And then we have people that have 30% or more equity, 1 to 2 bedrooms, 4-year ownership, single family, and the house value is under median. So we have those 5 groups. And those are the folks we're going to be marketing to. So if we have unlimited marketing funds, we market to all of them. If we have limited marketing funds, we start with the out-of-state absentees, 30% equity, 4-year ownership, single family homes, 1 to 3 bedrooms, and under median. Then we go that same criteria, but then we go out of city owners. So we go out of city, not in city. And then if we have enough money to market to the 3rd group, we're really going to ask ourselves, do we want to market to the absentees in city? Or at this point, do we want to go to the 65-year-olds who have lived in their property for 15 years or longer? They have 30% equity or greater. It's a single family. It's under median, and market to that group. So those kind of tie. And then if So if you had enough money for 3, you'd just pick one and go with that one. You have enough money for 4, you do the other one. And then if you have enough money for all of them, you do the 5th one. Now, when you do all that, you're also going to be marketing to all your subgroups as well, because all your subgroups that qualify under those 5 categories. So all your inheriteds and your probates and what have you. So that would be how I would do it. First, I'd run my algorithm, then I determine my budget, then I would find which list fits my budget or lists and go that direction. Second question, how does one scale up, as in how does one go from the technician to the manager to the entrepreneur? So someone's been reading the E-Myth. That's a great question for the E-Myth. And it just takes systems. You have to sit down and say, what does a technician do? Define it, quantify it, determine what that person needs, who's going to hold them accountable, and confirm that they did what they did, the tools and everything else that they need to support that task. How do they do that task? Step by step by step by step. So when you do that kind of thing, when you start systemizing all the things that technician does, and you're going to be the technician. So, how do you run a CMA? Step by step by step. How do you handle your direct mail? Step by step by step. How do you answer the phone call? Step by step by step kind of stuff. So you kind of have to think about it like this. If you went on vacation and you hired someone to answer your phone, do you have a system that allows them to know what they're doing without asking you any questions? If you do, then you can now go from the technician role into the manager role exclusively. So you no longer are the technician. Because in the beginning, remember, we're the technician, we're the manager, and we're entrepreneur. So we're all 3. We really want to be that entrepreneur. And so as a manager, we have to do that too. We have to systemize ourselves. How do we keep track of all of our systems underneath us? And how do we keep track of what we do as a manager? Because we're managing our technicians. And eventually, when you have that under control, then you can hire managers and become the entrepreneur. Because the entrepreneur, their only job, it's cool. The only job that person has is to make sure that the business has enough liquid asset to be in business. That's their only job. To confirm that their business can be in business. It's the manager's responsibility to hire people, fire people, run systems, order things, have sufficient amounts of things so that technicians can work. It's the technician's position to do all those things. And so you kind of start with creating a system, and you create one. And then when you do, you're going to realize, wait a second, if say your system is, I want to make my own yellow letters. So how do you do that? Well, you have to order paper, stamps, and envelopes, and you have to have a copy machine, and you have to have a list, and you can see how the systems go on and on and on, and there's going to be systems before systems and systems after systems. So just start with one. You're going to get to a point where now you go, well, I have to have the system before this system, and do that one, and work yourself into that entrepreneurial job. That's a much easier job. Next question, really good question. How do you determine the as-is value of the house? Well, in reality, when you're looking at a CMA, so you've got a CMA, comparative market analysis. You either have it from your realtor or the MLS, or you've done a public CMA. On that information, it's just black and white. It says this address sold for this value, and it was so many days on the market, and that's all it says. What it doesn't say is the condition of the property. It doesn't say the concessions to the buyer. It doesn't say any of that stuff. So the easiest way to determine as-is value of a house is before you buy the house, determine what the house qualifies for as it represents or it's represented against your comps. So if I have a house that's 1,200 square feet and it has single pane windows and it has regular old composition shingle roof and it has flush doors, so it's just a regular old house kind of stuff. Maybe it has some siding, maybe it's plastered, who cares? Well, I need to know what the houses that I'm comparing it to had. So I'm going to go out and do a 6-pack. I'm going to knock on some doors of 3 houses that are on the market and 3 houses that just sold. I'm going to look at those houses. I'm going to say, okay, so maybe the 3 that are listed I can get inside. And yeah, they all have single pane windows and they all have siding and they all have flush doors. Well, guess what? They are at the same condition as my house. So if they sold for $200,000 and my house looks exactly like they did, then my house is in as-is condition. Now, if those houses that I'm looking at, they have dual pane windows, they have granite countertops, and mine may have Formica, and they say they have just these massive upgrades, but all of them have it. So if only one has it, I'm not going to consider that real heavily. But of all of the houses I've looked at to compare against my house that I'm going to buy, if they're all upgraded, so they've created the future value that my house doesn't have yet, then I have a rule. And I look at it like this. If I'm buying a house and it's comparing it has the same square footage or similar, it has the same year built or similar, it's pretty much the same house, it's just hasn't been upgraded. I'm going to determine how long it's going to take me to upgrade that house. So let's assume for a second it's going to take me 2 months. And then I'm going to determine how much it's going to cost me in material to upgrade that house. So maybe it's going to cost me $10,000 in material and 2 months labor. Well, I'm going to add $10,000 for the material and $20,000 for the 2 months. And I'm going to say that if the ARV was $200,000, that the as-is value on the house that I'm looking at would be $170,000. Because I know contractors want to make $10,000 a month. We should all want to make $10,000 a month, and I have $10,000, so I have 2 months of that, and I have $10,000 in repair costs. Now, let's use another example. Maybe it's only going to take me 1 month, but my costs involved are $20,000. Then what's my ARV, my as-is? In that case, I'm going to double my 20, so I'm going to be at 40, and I'm not going to take into consideration my monthly income of the $10,000. So I'm going to take the 40 off the 200, and my as-is value is $160. So when your months are greater than your costs, then you're going to go, so if it's a 3-month transaction to rehab and I only have $16,000 in rehab costs, I'm going to take my $30,000 and my $16,000. But when my months are less than my costs to rehab it, I'm not going to take my 10 on my months. I'm just going to double my costs. And I have found out this little itty bitty rule, simple rule, works. And it should work for you too, but great question. Question 4, and it's a scenario question. Mr. Investor got a lead on a property that may be in foreclosure. What is the best way to find out exactly where it is in the foreclosure process? It's an excellent question, real easy answer. You've probably heard me talk a lot about having relationships with escrow companies or title companies, people that do title searches kind of thing. I would call my escrow company, the customer service. We do escrows out here in California. A lot of pit places do. And if you don't, then you'd call your title company or your title search company. So I would call my escrow customer service and I'd say, I'm buying 123 Apple Street. I think it's in foreclosure. Can you tell me what process it's in and how long on the foreclosure and when was it recorded? In about 5 minutes, I'm going to have on my phone through email or on my computer through email all of the documents that I need. They're going to pull up all of the recorded documents about that foreclosure. I'm absolutely going to know that in California, I have 90 days if it's a notice of default. And if it's a month old, then I know it's in their 30 days. So I have another 60 days before it goes to trustee sale. And I got 21 days on my trustee sale. So I actually have 81 days before that thing goes into the auction. So I have plenty of time to start negotiating with everybody to buy that house. So it's real simple. We just have to have those relationships either with a title search company or an escrow company that'll do that and get you that information. And they want to get you the information because they want you to use them when you end up buying the property. So it's pretty simple. Question number 5. It's a long question. A real long question. While on a phone call with a potential motivated seller, what are some tips to get them to show their cards? In other words, if in their mind they take $50,000, but they're telling you they want $100, what's the quickest way to get to the bottom dollar that they would accept? That's an outstanding question, and I can tell you, no one on the phone wants to. No, I should say no one. Some of them do. A lot of the folks on the phone don't want to give it away, or their cards away, their hand away, because they're afraid. They don't know what to say. They're nervous. They don't want to sound stupid. They don't want to make the wrong decision, kind of stuff. But they all know what they'll sell the house for. And so, question number 1 that I always ask someone is, do you have a house to sell, kind of thing. Some people call us and they don't have a house to sell. I don't know why, don't get it, don't understand it. I just hang up on them. Be polite. Second question is it listed with a real estate professional? It can't be. If it is, I politely let them go. Third question is what do you think it's worth in today's marketplace? And I'm going to let them answer that question for me. They have to know the answer because everybody that has something for sale and they're motivated knows kind of what it's worth. Fourth question, and I ask it in a way, I tell them all the reasons why I'm beneficial to them. So, I pay for all the costs, close on the day of your choice, pay cash for it, all the reasons my program for them is in their benefit. But I turn it from how much do you want to sell the house for to how much do you want in your pocket? Because it's an important turn. I want to take them from, maybe they're thinking they have to sell it for $100,000 because after all the costs and everything involved, maybe they'll get 50. Well, if I want to know as fast as I can what they're expecting to get, so I'm going to ask them, how much money were you hoping to get? What I call your walkaway money after all the expenses and the loans and everything that's against the properties paid off. How much were you hoping to walk away with? So I'm turning not sales price, but how much is the net figure that you're going to get in your back pocket? How much is that? And they're going to give me a number. So they're going to say $75,000. And I'm going to say really easy after I pause about 8 seconds. I'm going to say $75,000. Wow. Is that the least you'll take? And I'm going to wait for them to answer. Well, maybe I could do 70,000. And I'll pause a little bit. I'm going to say 70,000. Can't see yourself doing better than that? Well, maybe I can do 64,000. And I'm going to pause a little bit. I'm going to say 64,000. Can you help us out more than that? What's the lowest that you'll take? And I'm going to keep asking them, and every time they lower their number, I'm going to ask them 3 different ways to lower their number again. But after they've lowered their number and they won't lower it again after being asked 3 different ways, I know that's their number. But we just have to be confident and be able to ask those questions. They're tough questions. No one wants to ask, is that the least you'll take? Can you see yourself doing better than that? Is that the lowest you'll go? Can you help us out a little bit more? After everything we've been through, I'm going to have to take your money and go buy somebody else's house? I thought you wanted to sell me your house today. What's the least amount you'll take? The amount of money that you believe is fair to create win-win situations. You know, I have never bought a house from someone who hasn't agreed to the sales price. It's important to me that we both agree, and I need more help from you. What's the lowest you'll go? So we have to ask those questions. If we don't ask those questions, we're not going to get the answer. Hey guys, I really appreciate this. I'm having so much fun. This is real easy. I hope it helps. I hope you guys are coming to the site on a daily basis. And remember, it's about you. I need you to send to support@bsffacademy.com if you have any questions, and I will absolutely try my best to answer them. Also, if any of you want some coaching, if you thought about getting coached by someone who's a powerhouse investor, who has the largest marketing company in the country, who absolutely understands negotiation and how to get sellers to sell their house at 70 cents on the dollar, at 60 cents on the dollar and less, how to do it fairly so it's a win-win for both parties, how to go through each cycle of business, whether you have cash, whether you need to buy with seller financing, subject to financing, or option financing. If you've ever wanted to learn how to do this and make a bucket load of money, please jump on my Academy site, fill out that coaching form. Let me talk to you. Set a time. Let's talk. Let's get you on your way. Guys, I've enjoyed it. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.